People of the internet, it is Multiplier here to tell you something very, very special, and that is 7 semitones, which is called a perfect fifth. Why is this special? Basically, 7 semitones, a perfect fifth, is the second most natural musical interval after an octave. An octave is 12 semitones, a perfect fifth is 7. First of all though, what is a semitone? A semitone is effectively a jump on a keyboard. So if you include the white and the black keys, so all the keys of a keyboard, every time you jump from one to the next, that is a semitone. So one higher, one semitone. I can do that better. Literally all the keys. Messed it up. You get the idea. Every time you jump on a keyboard, that is a semitone. Now, I'm going to actually use the push now because it's easier for me. Now, the push is basically just a giant boink. It's just a giant, or not a giant, it's actually smaller. It's a different form of keyboard, but it does effectively the same thing. So instead of jumping all my fingers from white note to black note and so on up the keyboard, what I can do on the push and so on. It's just like a keyboard. So 7 semitones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Ah, sounds beautiful. Now I could also, looking at the other note lighting up, sort of hold my fingers like this. Oh, messed it up. See how it always sounds natural, smooth, musical. Natural's the word, natural. It sounds smooth and natural, smooth and natural, natural and smooth, smooth and natural. Literally anywhere on the keyboard, and there's a very important reason for this. Let me explain. Warning, warning, warning! The following involves a tiny amount of mathematics, but don't worry, it's very simple. If you can do adding up and simple multiplication 2 times, 3 times, and that's about it, then you can follow along and it will help you understand why 7 semitones is so important and why it always sounds so smooth, natural, and all kinds of good. I'm going to change it to a sine wave. Yeah, that's fine. And then also just sort of delete it or minimize it. And then grab a spectrum analyzer and then make it big. That's what she said. Ooh. And make it huge. Zoom like that so you can see what's going on with the frequencies. Beautiful. Perfect fifth. It was this, wasn't it? So just again, counting. Remember, it's just simple jumping. If you can jump like a kangaroo or just count, that works too, then you can do perfect fifths, which is just semitones. So if I want to find the perfect fifth, what I do is do 7 semitones up. So 7 jumps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Ah. And then I can memorize that finger shape. In fact, it's easier if I do a bass note, so you might not hear it easily, but it will be easier, and that's important. I've done a bass chord simply so it's easier mathematics, and so the numbers don't get too big and confusing because I can't deal with big numbers. So the bottom note I pressed is E0, which is approximately 41 hertz. And then the perfect fifth above, so 7 semitones above that E0. So E0 and then a perfect fifth, 7 semitones above. E0, approximately 41 hertz. And then the perfect fifth above, which is, ooh, move the mouse, do it. B0, 61 and a bit hertz, 62 hertz approximately. Basically, the frequency ratio of the higher note to the lower note is 3/2. 3 over 2, which is a very small number. It's a very natural sounding ratio, 3 over 2. So 62 divided by 41, approximately 3 over 2. Approximately, close enough. It's all to do with ratios. The simpler the ratio, the more natural looking and sounding the ratio is, the more musically pleasing, the smoother, the more natural it will sound to our human ears. Let's do a higher up one. The lower one is 160. Get your mouse right. 165 we'll go for, 165. And then that's the lower one. And then the higher one, let's say 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. 6, 7. We'll go for 247. Calculator. 247 divided by 165 is approximately 3 over 2. 3 over 2 is 1.5, so 1.496 is basically 1.5. So 3 over 2. Magic. Perfect. Perfect. A perfect fifth. 7 semitones. Beautiful. But I have one more thing to show you, which will help words, which will help reinforce the concept so you remember it when you then need to apply it, which I'll also tell you about afterwards, when you might actually use 7 semitones. Let's get into it. Now I'm going to play a saw. Doink, saw. And I'm also going to play a bass note, again, just so it's easier to see with the frequencies what's going on. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. That is a sawtooth wave, E0, approximately 41 hertz. You can even see the little, oh, there you go, E0, beautiful. Right, so sawtooth, that is a harmonic sound. Pretty much, well, in fact, every wave that's a cycle that is played at a pitch will be a harmonic sound. It means when I play a note E0, which is approximately 41 hertz, then all these additional peaks, all these frequencies, that's what we hear them as, frequencies, all these additional frequencies are multiples of that fundamental pitch, 41 hertz. So literally every single one of those additional peaks will be a multiple of that fundamental, 41 hertz. Therefore, they're called harmonics. That will be 2 times 41, approximately 82, you can see. The next one will be 3 times 41, which is 124-ish. And then, and 4 times, 5 times words, 5 times, 6 times, 7 times, and additional numbers beyond that. Harmonics, multiples. Now, check this out. The first harmonic, or it might be called the second harmonic, the second big peak above the fundamental, I can't remember, it's called the first or the second harmonic. It might be called the second harmonic. I think it is called the second harmonic. So the second harmonic, I'm going to call it that. If I'm wrong, I do apologize. Basically, the second peak along from the fundamental, twice the fundamental frequency. That one there is an octave above the fundamental, because when you jump an octave, when you go up an octave on the keyboard, you double the frequency, you double the hertz. If you go down an octave, you half the frequency or half the hertz. And that's why the octave is the most natural musical interval, because it all sort of fits together. The ratio's 2 over 1. 2. Very, very simple, natural, smooth, beautiful. And now here is the magic. Here's why I'm showing you this. When you jump from the second peak to the third, boing, 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 that is a perfect fifth. There is a 7 semitone difference between that harmonic, which I think is called the second, and the third. So B1, looking at the bottom left, is a perfect fifth, or 7 semitones above E1. But that makes sense, doesn't it? If you think about ratios, because this one is 2 times that one. This one is 3 times that one. Therefore, the ratio of this to this is 3 over 2, which was what I told you. A perfect fifth, or 7 semitones, is a 3 over 2 ratio of frequencies. Wowzers trousers. Right, let me tell you how this might apply in the real world of making music. Chords is one application, so it's a great place to start when you're building a chord. You could do, say, a perfect fifth. Let's do it higher up. And then you could drop in, say, a 4 in between. So you go, so that is a 1, 7, so like a 7 semitone jump. And then you could count up 4, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and then include that one too. Beautiful. I mean, that sounds alright, but so much better with the perfect fifth. Beautiful. Beautiful still. So much beauty. Ah, the beauty continues. And you can continue the beauty for as long as, until we get hungry, I suppose, and need to get some food. But perfect fifth. Application number 2 coming up now. Pitch bends. When you're using a synthesizer and you want to do a pitch bend, and let's say you don't want to quite go a whole octave, 12 semitones of pitch bend action, and you want to do still more than say 2 semitones, which is more of a detune sort of vibe, then you can go for 7, because remember, 7 semitones, a perfect fifth, is a natural sounding musical interval. So if you start doing pitch bends in a synthesizer and you want to go sort of less far than an octave but further than a few semitones, go for 7. Makes sense? Fantastic. Even if you weren't that interested in why a perfect fifth is so pleasing to our ears because of that ratio 3/2 and harmonics and stuff, just remember, perfect fifth, 7 semitones, the second most useful musical interval after an octave, which is 12. I've been Multiplier. I will catch you guys on the perfecty flippity flip.